Yo, yo. I'm Jovan Buha, NBA reporter for Buha's Block, and welcome to the second episode of Beyond the Block. This time coming to you live with Jared Weiss, brand new San Antonio Spurs beat writer for The Athletic after covering the Celtics for over a decade and then a couple of years covering the Northeast for The Athletic. Jared, my man, how are you doing?
My man, I'm good, except my face looks gigantic in this video shot all of a sudden. I thought I was far away. Yeah, I was in the right spot. What happened.
Yeah, I don't know why I just zoomed in on you. Let me try to remove you, add you back.
Everything is bigger in Texas, including my head, so it makes sense.
The Wemby start has gotten to your head, and that's what I want to talk about today. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the late night gang. But let's start with Wemby because this is just ridiculous here. So looking at his numbers this year, 31 points per game, 13.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.5 steals, 4.8 blocks, shooting a career best 60% from the floor, 36% on threes, and a career high 64.5% on two-pointers. So in looking at the breakdown, in watching some film and watching some of the Spurs games, it seems like there's been a concerted effort for Wemby to play closer to the basket. Looking at his average field goal attempt, it's been cut in almost half from last season. He was at just over 17 feet from the basket. Now he's shooting about 9 feet from the basket with his average field goal attempt. So like the 3-point rate has decreased by almost 70%. He's getting to the free throw line more than twice as much as last season, self-creating more, turning the ball over less. So I just rattled off a bunch of numbers with him, but what have been some of the trends that you've noticed with Wemby that has led to, in my opinion, an MVP caliber start to the season?
The thing about Wemby is it's hard to pin down exactly what his game is right now, and that's going to be the Spurs' journey this year. Is can they figure out what his game is, and then can they figure out how to play around him? Because the funny thing is the Spurs statistically are like the best team in the league right now, or just about. I don't think they're even playing that well right now. They're playing really well, but they're not playing as well as they can. They're not coordinated around Wemby quite well enough to like truly take advantage of what he's doing. And he's still figuring things out as well. So this team has a ton of room to grow. But we saw like opening night, they went against Dallas. Dallas has some of the best defensive bigs in the NBA. So they tried to cover him in space and single coverage, and he just destroyed them. Like it was insane how much he just completely eviscerated every coverage they threw at him. The next few games have been against teams that generally are playing smaller. And so he's going to the mid post and they're roughing him up as much as they can, making his catches as tough as they can, which you can only do so much of that because even if you push him off the spot, you can't really take away the catch from him because he could just catch it 8 feet in the air. And so probably more than that, like 10 feet in the air.
He is 8 feet in the air.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been like a little bit difficult for him, but over the course of the game, he's figuring out how to make it work. He's changing different positions on the floor where he wants to get the ball from. They're setting up his catches in different ways. They're finding all sorts of ways to kind of solve what the defense is giving him. And he's really mostly in problem-solving mode. So it's funny that he ends up getting 30 points, 15 rebounds, 5 or 6 stocks every single game because he's still kind of in troubleshooting mode. He's still trying to figure out how teams are covering him, and his team is trying to figure out how to space around him. So Wemby's having an MVP caliber season right now, and I think he's only playing like 70% as well as he can, even in this season.
Which is just crazy, right? Like for me, the analog I've made with Wemby is he feels like the superhero. And I don't know why I always think of like Spider-Man specifically, but it's like the superhero just figuring out their powers and they're starting to do the web slinging and they're starting to jump off buildings and all that stuff. With him,
that is what he's doing. But he's jumping off of buildings out there.
He is jumping off of buildings, but I think he's leveled up to where like we're past that phase, right? Like that was probably his first couple of years, and we're at the phase now where he knows his powers, and now he's testing the limits of his powers. And I think the key here has been him playing closer to the basket because there's just no way to stop him within like 10, 12 feet of the basket. Like the second he's getting anywhere near the rim, he is drawing fouls. He's dunking the ball. I mean, he's had several ridiculous reverse finishes off of lobs, and I just don't know what you're supposed to do with that. And it's just like, every preseason, multiple sites come out with the preseason player rankings, and a lot of sites had Wemby at 5 or 6 entering the season, and some people thought that was a little bit too high. And right now, I'm like, I don't know. Like the top 4 for me is hollowed ground with Jokic, Shea, Luka, Giannis in some order. 3 of those guys are champions. The 4th guy has led his team to the finals. I don't think I could put him quite at that level yet, but it feels like 5 is his right now, and it's only up from there.
I mean, before the season, my bold prediction on The Athletic was that he would finish 3rd in MVP voting. Or I might not even say 3rd. I might have said top 3. And I think that's where it is at this point. If they are the 6th seed, he averages like 30, 14, and 6 stocks a game. I think he's probably going to finish 3rd in MVP voting just because his defensive impact has just been insane. Like these teams are just running away from him, man. And they can't figure out how to get away from him. They think they did, and then he just shows up out of nowhere. They can't do it.
No, he takes up the entire paint, like with his wingspan. He's like, and I think his pick and roll defense, where the ability to both like corral the ball handler with one arm and then also prevent the lob or a pocket pass to the rolling big, like it's just incredible. And some more fun with his numbers here. A 41.2 PER, which anything above 30 is like legendary status, and then a .474 win shares per 48 minutes, which is just like, and those are obviously, not the most advanced stats, but just looking at some of those numbers, it's like,
I didn't know that was even possible to have a point. What was it? 474. Like that's not supposed to exist. That's like Shohei Ohtani kind of stuff. And that's like the closest analog, I guess, for him right now, right? Yeah. It's like he's kind of doing what Ohtani does, and it's not at that same level because Ohtani's like doing 2 jobs that baseball players do, while Wemby is just doing what great players do at one of the highest levels we've seen. Or I guess theoretically, like we can't get ahead of ourselves as easy as it is right now. And as someone who was like sitting courtside for that Dallas game, I was just like, this is like top 5, 6 performance I've seen in my life. But the stakes aren't that high. And that's the thing, is like they're playing mediocre teams so far. Like, Dallas, we'll see how they figure things out, but they're playing.
They've been a mess.
Yeah. But like they're playing fringe playoffs teams so far. Toronto's like a play-in team, I would say. New Orleans is hoping to be a play-in team. Brooklyn, Jordy Fernandez is a really good coach, and they're always going to be a competitive team, even if they lose 75 games this year. And then they have Miami coming to town Thursday, the day after we're talking for this one. And Miami's been playing great this season, so we'll see how that test goes. And Wemby, when they were in Miami during the preseason, he didn't really do a whole lot against Bam. That was kind of like his walkthrough game a little bit. So I'm really curious to see how a great coach team that can play really good defense and is just running their asses off on offense right now. And Wemby's number one weakness is, can you push him conditioning wise that he gets tired? And so far this year, he hasn't looked that tired out there. But last game, I thought he didn't look that tired out there, and he played 37 minutes, and then he came out afterwards. He's like, oh God, I was really tired. So I'm like, all right. So it's kind of hard to tell right now. But teams we haven't seen him push to crunch time. Like, he hasn't had to do that much in crunch time yet. He hasn't been in a super close game yet. So there's all sorts of stuff that he hasn't been tested on that those other guys in your MVP top 5 are like very battle tested on. They've proven to be historically great in those big moments. And that's the big thing for Vic, is like Vic over the course of a game is extremely impactful, but this team does not have a tried and true way to win tough games yet. And that's what we haven't seen yet. And that's what we don't know what he's going to do in those moments. We don't know what his signature shot is. We don't know what is the thing he can go to, and he doesn't have to pass out of it, because he's been playing, ironically, relatively passively so far and being mostly a playmaking hub. And that works great because he's really good at it, and the team is good at getting him back the ball. And when they get him back the ball off of those actions, it's usually just like him just like looking up in the sky and just going like that. And then and then when he wants to take a turnaround jumper, he hits it most of the time. I mean, like, there's not much you can take away from him, but in crunch time in the NBA, when you can hack him, when you can shove him around, then you can start taking away a lot from him. And I don't know what his answer to that is. And that's going to be his journey over the next probably couple seasons to go from being in the MVP mix to the MVP.
Another thing that stood out to me on film that I've been really impressed with has been the spin moves. And not just on the ball, but it's like off of the ball to spin into a lob or to spin into an opening or coming off of a screen or something. Like his agility and footwork at that. I mean, just for a 7-footer or someone in that vicinity is already like elite. But especially for someone that size, we've never seen obviously that mobility with that size. And that's where like, he is this Frankenstein of Orlando, Shaq, and Giannis and KD. He doesn't quite have the power or the strength of Orlando, Shaq, or Giannis. And I think that's the thing that I'm wondering, like long term, just how much stronger does he ultimately get, and how can he maintain that mobility with the increased strength? But the agility is just like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. And we're seeing him dribble the ball up full court and like, in fast break situations, just get by multiple defenders. Like I don't know what you do with that.
Yeah, so people think that there's 5 senses, and there's more than that. And I don't know why they don't teach you this when you're younger. Maybe they do, and I'm just old at this point. But one is called proprioception, and it's the body's sense of where it exists in space. It's your body has this innate ability to just know where it is relative to other objects and where it is altitude wise and all that kind of stuff. And so
deep now.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, Wemby's proprioception is like amazing. And that's what makes him so incredible, because he's not the first 7'4", 7'5", 7'6" guy, 7'9", whatever the hell it is. I'm guessing probably 7'5.5" or something like that. But
7'6", yeah.
He's not the first player to be that big. And he's not even the first player to be in the kind of giant range and be able to move pretty decently. His coordination is insane at his size. His coordination is elite for a 7-footer. Like, it's like almost Kevin Durant level coordination, and KD is probably the most coordinated 7-footer I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen. I mean, AD is pretty good as well. But like
KG is up there too.
Yeah, but KG didn't have the fluidity quite like those guys, and that might have been he was a product of his era. I mean, we've seen like the clips of like KG at Team USA playing ones against those guys, and he's just like destroying them in full court. So like he could do it, but he didn't show it on the court in the same way as like an AD, and then especially a Kevin Durant can do. And Wemby is showing. I'm really curious to see if he can be as good as KD from like a fluidity standpoint down the road. I would be surprised, because KD came into the league and his feel was just like, one of the best I'd ever seen from a player ever just entering the league. But like Wemby, his ability to play at weird angles and still stay on balance is amazing. He very rarely gets thrown off balance. We don't really see that happen very often, and it allows him to kind of move. He's able to limit his movement really well so that he isn't expending as much energy while he's still manning the floor. And then the point of this was to touch on something you mentioned that you kind of hinted at, which is he plays backwards really well. And this is a super underrated skill for 7-footers that people don't talk about. Is there are some 7-footers that you throw it up to them, their back is facing the rim, and they'll just hit it backwards. Like they'll be able to just not even really look at the rim and just be able to know where the rim is and have that proprioception and have a feel for where they are. And you can see Wemby, you throw it up to him while he's backwards, and he still just throws it down a reverse or puts up a reverse layup. And that's really huge, because he doesn't have to be rolling downhill for you to lob it to him. He could be standing, boxing out, and you still put it up there and just kind of reaches out and taps the ball back at the rim. So you can't, like, he doesn't have to be in position to be in position. And that's what's so crazy about him. So there's so many moments on the floor where 7-footers aren't quite able to get into the action because they're not in position. And he's generally, whether it's his touch or his backwards ability or whatever his feel is, he's able to be in position to make an impact more often during a possession than other 7-footers are.
One of the other guys that has really stood out to me on film in preparation for this episode was Dylan Harper. And he looks like a 7-year veteran already with the footwork and the ball handling and the decels and the Euro steps and averaging 15, 5 and 5. The shot is a work in progress, shooting about 33% on threes right now. But he looks like a veteran, like, budding multi-time All-Star. And I don't know, like, just thinking about that pairing long term. I know you recently wrote about him being Wemby's kind of sidekick or partner for the foreseeable future. But what have you seen from Dylan Harper as a rookie? And obviously number 2 pick coming in with high expectations, but I think he's poised. He's just got a certain confidence in basketball IQ that is innate, and I think is advanced for a player just a few games into his career. Yeah. Looks like a few years. But what have you made of Dylan Harper's start so far?
He's been really good. I mean, he's been really good. He might win Rookie of the Year. He might win Sixth Man of the Year, honestly. Like, he's probably one of the top choices for that, I'd imagine. It's going to change, and this is the whole question, and we'll get into it eventually, is they're doing all this, they're playing really well, and they're missing De'Aaron Fox. Like, they're missing their other max player. And they're also missing Jeremy Sohan, who's been like a key rotation player for them for a while. So they have a bunch of questions that they have to answer still. Right now, they have a really good flow, but I think against really good defenses that, just like top-level teams that can keep up with them, it's going to start to get harder, and that's where you're going to need to figure out, how does this team change when you bring Fox into the mix and Harper is not going to be playing as many crunch time minutes and things of that nature? But Harper has been a really good point guard so far. He is a good, coordinated playmaker with really good patience. And when people talk about how he looks so experienced, it's his feel attacking the paint is just so well-timed, patient, balanced. He has good vision. His ability to contort himself to get to the rim and avoid shot blockers is really, really advanced for a 19-year-old. Like, he already looks like a starting caliber guard on a contending team because his downhill game's been awesome. He's really good in just open space and transition, but he's also good in pick and roll. He makes pretty good decisions on the ball, and then his defense is also really good. Like, he's a pretty advanced defender already. He's an absolute animal, hawking guys. I haven't seen him make that many mistakes, and of course, he has Wemby behind him, so it's like there's more margin for error to play as an aggressive defensive guard because you have that backstop. And so we're seeing him and Stephon Castle have been like absolute monsters defensively early on this year. Castle especially has been like amazing defensively, and they're just pressuring the crap out of these teams, and they're turning them over, and they're getting out in transition. They're really good off of outlets because Wemby will bring it up, or Wemby will kick it out, or they'll just have anybody else bring it up. And so Harper has been able to fit in really seamlessly so far, and he has the complete package already working for him. He just needs to become a shooter, and that's going to take a while.
You mentioned Fox, and that leads me to the next question of just how does De'Aaron Fox fit into all this? Like, he's a couple seasons removed from leading the Kings to a number 3 seed. They end up losing to Golden State in 7 in that first round. But I think at that point, a lot of people had him at worst as a top 25 guy, maybe even a top 20 guy. I thought he was better than Domantas Sabonis, all things considered, throughout that regular season and playoff run. So you have this guy who's like an all-star level ball handler, initiator, scorer next to Wemby, but you also have Stephon Castle, and you also have Dylan Harper, and you also have even Devin Vassell, who's not like a point guard lead ball handler type, but I think it's kind of like 3 of those 4 can maybe play together in certain lineups or certain configurations. So how do you see Fox fitting into all that? Like, Castle, I think, has looked really good as well in year 2. Turnovers have been a little bit of an issue for him, but he's been shooting the ball well and leveling up his game. And I think really has taken some strides as a ball handler and as a playmaker. So how do you just view that whole situation? And does this, I mean, I feel like for this season that they probably want to ride it out and see what this looks like. But long term, if we're talking 2027, 2028, what does the Spurs core look like?
Yeah, they can't rush things, and just because Harper looks really good so far doesn't mean that they need to accelerate their timeline as far as I'm concerned. They have a chance to win the championship this year if they keep this up, but I don't think they're at the point where it's like we need to make a move now the way that they did it last year, where last year they jumped the gun a little bit on the roster plan to go for Fox. And I liked it. I've seen mixed reviews on that move. I like it. I just feel like a really speedy guard next to Wemby is the right move. And if you just take it out of the context of what is Castle's game going to be, if he can evolve to being more than just a downhill paint guy and show more touch like he's starting to do. And that's obviously before they knew they were getting Dylan Harper, which obviously changes the equation. But like Fox, like this team, I think it's very apparent. Wemby is going to be one of the greatest threats ever in transition. He is it's insane what he does in transition. It's like Giannis level impact, and he can also trail and hit threes, which makes it even more dangerous. So they want to play up tempo. They want to play high pressure defense because Wemby's sitting back there. And Wemby is showing that even when teams space him out with a decent shooting five, he can still patrol the paint and he can do an okay job recovering out to the perimeter. And, Colin Murray-Boyles in that Toronto game kind of made him pay a couple times when he didn't really close out. So that's going to be one thing to look at to see how Wemby does that on defense the rest of the year. But Fox is just like, he's the guy for commanding an up-tempo team like that. He's just such a good decision maker, moving at high speed. And then also, like Wemby, when he's in these post-ups and he's drawing doubles, the team doesn't really know how to space around him quite yet. And I think having a guy like Fox, who just has so much experience and he's so explosive off the catch, you don't need him to just be a catch and shoot guy. You don't just need catch and shoot guys. You need someone who can get the ball off that reversal and make a quick decision. And Fox is going to be able to just make so much noise once he catches the ball against the grain of the defense. And he's so good, even if he's not that good statistically as a deep shooter, he is amazing inside of 20 feet. So he's going to be able to hit any of those shots if he has to do a jumper, but he's also going to be able to find other shooters while they're out there. So I really like the Fox fit. I'm excited to see what it looks like when he comes back. I think he'll probably be back for either their Phoenix game or the LA game. So I don't know for sure, but I would expect that's probably when he's going to be making his return. And maybe Sohan and Cornette and Olynyk and maybe even Lindy Waters, maybe they'll start to come back and this team will start to be whole again. But, De'Aaron Fox is like, he's one of the best explosive playmakers in the NBA. And Wemby, he's really dangerous when he slows things down because that's when teams start to get nervous. And when you can have this kind of contrast in explosiveness from like one guy who's stationary in Wemby to a guy who's so explosive off the catch, it just kind of distorts the defense's confidence. And that's what they really need. And we're seeing like Castle has been doing a lot of that so far. And he's been awesome on all these cuts and all these transition plays. And he's not as good at it as De'Aaron is. Like De'Aaron's one of the best at it.
I agree with you. I think it's a great problem to have, and they will figure it out. I think Castle can play off the ball and be more of a two guard in certain configurations. It's honestly in some ways kind of similar to what the Lakers have going on right now, where they have Luka, Austin, and LeBron, and they're trying to figure out how to make that work with three high usage primary ball handlers. And San Antonio, I think, like ultimately whether those guys, like how much those guys can play off the ball and the way they can play off the ball is going to determine the viability of that trio. Because in theory, like Castle, Harper, and Fox with that size, like you are a little bit small, and there are certainly some matchups where it won't work. But we have seen teams be able to play like a 6'5", 6'6", a 6'4", 6'5", and like a 6'3" guy together. Like that's not unfathomable. And with the collective talent and speed and athleticism with those three, I think there are some matchups where they could fit together. And then you have the ultimate eraser back there, the human Gumby, just making. I mean, you could play like four guards with Wemby in theory, right? He's just like that special defensively, but obviously, it depends on who the fourth guy is. But you said something that piqued my interest because you said the Spurs could win the championship this season, and that feels a little premature to me. But they are 4-0 to your point, best net rating in the NBA by a decent margin right now, top 6 on both sides of the ball. They have a guy we've been talking about as a potential MVP candidate, top 5 player at worst in the NBA right now. Another top potential 25 guy coming back in Fox, Harper, Castle. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of firepower. Great start so far. But what do you think is a reasonable expectation for this group? Like, I thought there was a clear top 7 in the West entering the season that did not include San Antonio, but I did have them as my 8th best team. They are kicking down the door and making a strong case to be a top 6 team in the West. Like, where are you at with them realistically? And then you could also touch on their ceiling as a potential championship team.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. I'm saying that from the legal definition of competing for a championship, I'm willing to put them in there. Sure. But I've got them right now, I think, 6th in the West, which is what their goal is. And that's being conservative. Like, I know you want to get in the power rankings. I won't spoil everything yet, but I'm pretty conservative in doing power rankings in the opening weeks of the season because, you know, like they've only played 4 games as a recording. They haven't played that much. So but there are some teams that you see them out the gate and you're like, all right, this guy's different. This guy's different. They work together. And it's not just like we've seen Orlando and Washington and New Orleans in recent years. They'll just get off to these like 7-2 starts and everyone thinks
Chicago
everything's different. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. They got some talent. Maybe it all comes together. I picked Puzelis for most improved.
Win some games. Someone's got to win some games.
Someone has to win a game at some point. But it's like with San Antonio, they're playing like a 4-5 seed, I would say right now. But we got to remember, like the competition, they haven't faced a top level team yet. They haven't faced a team with like an opposing player that's like completely unstoppable and is two-way. Although Cam Thomas dropped a 40 piece on them recently, so I don't know. Maybe I still have trouble. I still don't know how to feel about Cam Thomas because every game I go to of his, he drops 40. So I'm like, all right, well, like I don't love the way that this guy fits into the system, but he also is averaging 40 a game in Jared Weiss appearances. So like maybe he is an MVP caliber player because he certainly thinks he is. But like they still need to prove a bunch of stuff for me to put them up in. Like I had a very clear top 3 of OKC, Golden State, Denver coming into this season. And I maybe would have had Houston up there if Van Vliet stayed healthy, but now I'm looking at him like they're going to have to make some move for a point guard, so we'll see what they do. But like they're not cracking that top 3 this year as far as I'm concerned. But like we'll see what happens. Like they're missing an all-star. It's not just like they're not just getting Sohan back and trying to figure out like where do we fit Sohan into this already pretty well set up wing rotation. Like we're talking about the guy that's supposed to be the engine of their offense.
So let's just get into the West Power rankings here. Do you want to do it? I have mine tiered. So do you want to go by tiers? Do you want to go 1 through?
Let's go 1
through 15, but I think
let's go 1 through 15. Let's do it one at a time. That way we can have some suspense. But we can delineate our tiers as we're going along.
So who's your number 1 team?
I mean, OKC. We don't need to overthink this.
The team that's 5-0 and is winning without J-Dub and just won without Chet, and they look pretty good. Okay, who's your number 2?
I have Golden State number 2. They were actually in my championship pick before the season.
Wow.
One, there's a couple reasons for that. One, I'm full of shit and I like being contrarian. But the reason why is if everyone picks OKC, it's not fun. I need to. Yeah. I'll do like a hot take, but like a reasonable hot take. Like, oh, that's a different approach to this analysis, but it's not crazy. But we saw when Golden State was fully healthy last year, they played at the level that OKC played at. They were statistically off the charts. They looked great on the eye test. And they're probably going to stumble through the season and win 52 games. And then if they're healthy, which is, who knows, crapshoot, I think that they have just as good of a chance as winning the title as OKC and Denver do. So I'll start with those 2.
They've been my biggest riser, so they're not my number 2 team, but I will be touching on them very soon. My number 2 team is Denver, and that actually, I don't think I've said this publicly, so we're going to break some news here. They were my preseason pick to win the title. Similar to you, I kind of didn't want to just go chalk and pick OKC, and we've now seen this sample size of the last like 6-7 years where the team that you covered, the Celtics, a lot of people picked them to win the title last year, and you just don't know where something's going to go wrong or where there's an injury. And all it takes is for as great and as dominant as OKC is, I think if they lose Shea, that goes without saying, but like even Chet or J-Dub, I think they are far more vulnerable. And we saw in the playoffs going to 7 with Denver, going to 7 with Indiana, like there were some flaws, especially offensively with that group. So I had Denver over New York. as my championship pick. So I'm sticking with Denver. Had a tough loss to the Warriors, your number 2 team, but I still think with Jokic, to me, he's the best player in the world until proven otherwise. I don't think anyone has proven otherwise. And this is the best bench they've maybe had in the Jokic Murray era. Murray's actually starting the season well for the first time, like in how many years? Aaron Gordon, like the shooting is just real at this point. It's hard to deny. So I'm really high on Denver, and like a slowish start by their standards, but I still think they're 3-1. So I think they're in a pretty good spot. Who's your number 3 or 2-1? Excuse me.
So it was OKC, Golden State, then I have Denver at number 3. And this rounds out the tier for me. And the difference between these 3, I think, is pretty negligible at this point. And just very, very fun fact, someone just tried to hack into my Instagram right as I gave that hot take on the Warriors. So I guess one of your live viewers must be pretty pissed off at me right now. And whoever they are, please stop trying to hack into my IG, because I'm going to be alive on here for another 30 minutes. And I hope that all my photos are still there.
Obviously, a lot of Laker fans in the chat, and you are kind of public enemy number 1. You covered the Celtics, now you're covering the Spurs. Those are probably the 2 most, up there with the Clippers, and Celtics number 1 for sure. But then Spurs right there with Clippers and Warriors as top Lakers enemies.
You know what's funny? I'm going to tell a story about your mom real quick. So, no one has ever sent on a podcast before. So, I covered the Celtics for a long time, and so a lot of the time people will come up to me and they'll just be like, "Boo Celtics, we hate you," and I'm like, I covered the Celtics. I don't work for them. I mean, yeah, I grew up a Celtics fan, but I'm not part of it. I'm an objective person. I'm not really a fan anymore. But yeah, if you want to do it, sure. I was at your wedding, and I never actually met your mom before. And she comes up to me and she just starts booing in my face, just straight up booing me. And she kept giving me shit for being with the Celtics. And then she'd be like, we're just kidding. We love you anyway. And she kept doing it throughout the wedding. And I thought it was really funny. But she probably does hate me. She's feisty. She gets after. She's in the chat a lot. She's not on today, but she'll love the mention. She will love the mention. So we have the same top 3, just in different orders. I have Golden State 3rd. I will note that for me, there's a drop off between 2 and 3. So my tier 1 is OKC and Denver right now. I have a giant tier 2. And starting off the tier 2 is Golden State. They are the biggest riser for me. I had them 6th entering the season, behind the top 2 that we just mentioned. I forgot the order I had, but I think it was Minnesota, Houston, the Lakers, and then Golden State at 6. Golden State is 3 for me. They have granted, there's a lot of ifs with them just because of the age of some of their Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond are all 35 or older. Al Horford's 40. So you need those 4 guys to stay healthy, which is far from a guarantee. Not everyone is LeBron. Even LeBron is obviously dealing with injuries to start the season. But Golden State, I think they have top 10 potential on both sides of the ball, which you can't say for many teams in the league. And so far, I think the biggest thing for me is Kuminga. Kuminga has taken a step, and Kerr is comparing him to Sean Marion, which I think is a bit premature, but he's taking on the primary assignments. You see it. He's taking on the primary assignments. I thought he, Luka dropped 43 on his head, but I thought he defended him fairly well. He was contesting everything. He was there at least. Luka's just Luka. I thought he defended Kawhi and Harden fairly well last night as well. So Golden State for me is number 3. What about number 4? So it's funny you were talking about the Lakers fans being mad, because maybe I'm crazy, but I have the Lakers at number 4 right now. After that Austin performance, I'm like, shit, this team is going to have 3 guys they can rely upon in the playoffs. And I'm doing my power rankings based on championship equity. I'm basically looking at this as, what am I seeing today that makes me think that they're going to be able to win the title in 8 months? I don't know how long it is from now, probably 8-ish. And I think I have them at number 4. Their offense looks really good. Winning back
some points with the chat.
Yeah. What up, chat? I can't see what they're saying, but either screw you or thank you. I love you. It looks like it's fitting right now. Luka just looks insane in a good way. And now that Austin is showing his ability to step up, and I think he just looks like a more complete player, and he just looks more physically composed when I watch him. And, how old is LeBron? Is he 70 yet? He just
going to be 41.
I can't believe he's only 40.
Which is close
How are him
in
and Al
NBA
the same age?
terms.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But like, I think seeing the amount of usage that Austin and Luka can take off of his plate, it's just going to allow him to stay balanced enough in his usage during the postseason that I can see them potentially going the distance. And they're going to make a deal at some point. I don't know with what, and I don't know for who, but they're going to do something small to make things better. But like, they just look like they've had a solid offseason and they look together.
We're in agreement. Same top four. Lakers have moved up for me. I think with Luka, Luka didn't need to prove anything, but he was incredible in the 6 quarters he played in the preseason, and he was downright unstoppable in the first couple games of the season against Golden State and Minnesota, 2 of the better defensive teams in the league, though Minnesota has had their struggles, and that's partly why they're a little bit lower on my list. But yeah, I'm with everything. Like, I echo everything you said. My one thing with the Lakers that I think is going to be interesting is, like, they've been very cautious with health stuff and even like this Luka situation and all throughout the preseason. So I'm a little nervous with how many guys are already dealing with stuff. This sciatica situation with LeBron is supposed to be a situation that really just doesn't go away outside of just resting, which obviously LeBron can't just rest the entire regular season. So I could see them being a little bit lower and maybe somewhere in that like 5 to 7 range. But to your point earlier about like championship equity, I think right now I have them 4th in the pecking order. But if this, it's different for me in like a standings perspective. I would have the Lakers a little bit lower from a standings perspective, just because I think the back end roster depth and how many injuries they're already dealing with, I think is going to cost them a little bit. But from a championship equity perspective, Luka, LeBron, Austin, to me, that's the best trio in the NBA, and at least offensively. And I think that's going to carry them, decently far. What about number 5?
So this is where things get tricky. And I would say you had a big tier 2. I have a pretty big tier 2 as well. And the differences between all these teams at this point is pretty small. I have Houston there right now, and it hasn't looked that good for them. But looking down the road, they have a whole season to figure out how to accommodate for the Van Vliet injury. Maybe Reed Shepherd will be an NBA player at some point. And when I've watched them, I haven't seen a good synergy between Durant and Şengün, but they're both clearly playing like all-star caliber players. So I think Ime eventually is going to figure out that offensive balance, especially in crunch time. And then Amen, he made so much progress over the course of last year, and I think that's going to happen again this year, where he's going to get more and more comfortable as a ball handler, a decision maker in the half court. He's going to learn how to play on the ground, because right now his game is in the air. He jumps up in the air. He gets, he like orders a pina colada. He takes a seat, and he kind of like figures out what he's doing while he's still on his way up. And then right before he hits the ground, then he makes a decision. And he's going to learn how to play on the ground at some point. I think he's a pretty smart player on top of being just an insane athlete with great aggression and motor. So, this is a team that I think is going to evolve over the course of the year and find more chemistry over the course of the year. But they had a floor general that was going to organize everything in Van Vliet, and they lost that. And it's just going to take a while for them to figure it out. But I still have pretty good hope that their offense will at least be decent enough that they're not just playing ISO at the end of games like they were doing on opening night against OKC. But like, we know their defense is incredible. Like their defense is just awesome. And then, if all else fails on the offense, they still have KD to go ISO 2 and Şengün to go ISO 2.
Ultimate safety valve.
Yeah, so they just need to keep it close in games, and then they have guys that can get you buckets in the last 90 seconds. So I think I still have them at 5, which is a drop down as I had them at 4 before. But I think they will figure it out.
They've dropped for me as well to 5, and so I wish we had more to disagree with. I think I was really impressed with the opening night performance versus OKC. That is the ultimate test for any offense, let alone an offense without a point guard. And the way that Amen Thompson started, it felt he started to figure out OKC's defense progressively throughout that matchup. And then I did think there was some progress throughout the game. Obviously, it was short lived between KD and Şengün, but it felt like they started to mix things up, having Şengün bring the ball up the floor. Alex Caruso was hacking him 94 feet as he tends to do against bigs and just get away with it. that'll be an interesting one for Wemby, is when they put Caruso on Wemby. It just let him maul him. But I mean, I thought they like going toe to toe with OKC on ring night, and OKC like wanting that game, and ultimately they prevailed. But like Houston withstood all of the haymakers from Shea and from Chet, and they went 15 rounds with them, and it was awesome. So I think they're a team that, because of the defense, because of the youth, because of the depth, I could see maybe being like the 3 or 4 seed. But in terms of championship equity, to your earlier point, I still have more confidence in Golden State and LA above them. What about number 6?
Spurs. That's where I think is the right place to slot them now. They just right now they're playing above they're punching above their weight right now, but they've got a heavyweight coming back, so they're a big unknown. If De'Aaron Fox comes back and they continue to be in like the top 3 in the league, then we can start sliding them up to the 4 spot. That's definitely in the cards for them. I'm going to be patient on that one. And again, like, watch these games. Wemby's playing well, but not that well. His numbers are deceiving, which is both a testament to his greatness, but also a testament that like we can't get ahead of ourselves with how good this team is. And also, we kind of touched on it earlier, like the whole team is playing well right now. Like Castle has been really good. He's taken a clear step forward. Harper's been good. But like Keldon Johnson has been one of their best players. He settled into this like kind of 7th man role, and he basically plays power forward for them now. And he's been a monster on the glass. He's hitting his shots. His like the vibes are very high in the locker room. That's how Harrison Barnes put it. And like walk into their locker room, you will hear Keldon Johnson screaming, 3LW, or making some joke or talking about how his tummy hurts. Like the dude is just hilarious, and he just brings so much infectious energy to that team. And so they just have the right chemistry alignment happening right now, and everyone's playing pretty well, and most of the guys are shooting the ball pretty well. Champagny and Barnes are having their nights when they're called upon. Cornette was playing really well before this like mysterious ankle sprain that none of us seem to know exactly when it happened and why it happens. But everyone on the team is playing well right now. And so their issue, or their floor is just, or I guess their ceiling right now is just their connectivity and understanding how to play together. And they're a young team, so that's going to take a while for them to develop. But everyone there is playing well right now. And that's what gives me a lot of optimism that they can crack that, I would say move their way to the top of that second tier rather than having a chance to crack the top tier.
I have them at number 6 as well. I wish we disagreed more. We might disagree more.
I think we're going to start disagreeing now.
Of the West.
But I think that we're going to start mixing it up a little.
Dare I say with San Antonio, there's like a little bit of mid 90s Rockets / like Orlando Dwight with the group, right? I think obviously Fox is... It's hard to compare Fox to like Clyde back in the 90s. Like I think he was at like a slightly different phase of his career. And then with those Orlando teams, it was Jameer Nelson, Hedo Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis. Like it's not a perfect comparison, but sort of having like that dominant 2-way center and then a bunch of complementary perimeter players. I think with San Antonio, the upside is potentially higher with just how good Fox and Castle and Harper project to be. Like, I mean, Fox already, but Castle and Harper within the next couple of years. Like, but that sort of like the center of the universe is the big man who then you can kind of play with 4 perimeter guys around him. You don't even need necessarily like the Twin Towers look.
Yeah. And what's funny? Rashard Lewis, do you know where he is nowadays? He's on the San Antonio coaching staff. Yeah. He's part of
what about
the F. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, what about number 7?
This is where it gets, I think this is where it gets really hard. I'm putting Minnesota, which
same.
Okay, God damn it,
so
dude. I mean, it's low. It's low for them because they've been so good every single year. But I'm waiting to see what they're going to be this year. And Ant just got hurt, and part of this is like Ant's going to get hurt at some point in his 20s, and it's going to kind of derail him for a bit. And we're going to see how he reinvents himself when he gets back from it. Now, this injury isn't that significant. He's going to be out, for like weeks or a month or something like that. So not a huge deal. But they're just like the one team that we've talked about so far where I'm not 100% clear on what their path is to getting back to the conference finals.
I think they really miss Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and I don't think the young guys have been ready to take a step yet. I also disagree with some of their rotations. Like we'll see it tonight against the Lakers, but they played too many minutes for my liking of no Ant, no Julius Randle. Tonight they have no choice because Ant is out. But I've never been a fan of the like the Clippers used to do this with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, where it would be like, we're going to go with this all bench look, or, you know, 4 out of the 5 players are bench players, and our 2 best players and 2 best scorers and playmakers and initiators are off the floor at the same time, and then the offense just crumbles. That happened in the non-Ant Randall minutes against the Lakers. They badly lost those minutes, and I thought it was a mistake on Chris Finch's part. And I get, like, you get more minutes with the 2 players together, so like in theory maybe you're supposed to win those minutes more, but I think that's like, right now I have a lot of questions about, you know, Dante DiVincenzo is not a point guard or lead ball handler. Mike Conley is at a different phase of his career. I think Rudy Gobert is kind of entering a different phase of his career. So this is a team that's like very reliant on Ant, Julius, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid. And they're another team that like they probably outkick this in terms of maybe being a top 6 seed, but like when it comes down to matchups and like, I just think right now I have more confidence in the top. There's no easy answer in the West, right? So we get to 8. Now I think there's an obvious choice, but who's your number 8 team?
I think the Clippers.
Yeah.
I'm
Which feels low for them.
Yeah.
It feels low.
Yeah. I'm tempted to put Memphis there. You know, what's funny is we had to do these bold predictions and before the season started, and I put for team that's going to lose last, so the team that's going to start undefeated the longest, just for fun I put the Clippers, because I was thinking Kawhi was going to be kicked out of the league by then and Steve Ballmer was going to be in jail for whatever he did. I'm joking. That was all joking, to be clear. But the fact that they got their asses kicked by Utah like on the first game was pretty funny. They just like, it's just not. And then
I don't know if you caught part of last night, but I
saw a little bit
close game. They had like a mini comeback to close the first half against Golden State, and then it was close going into. I think they actually led by a little bit going into halftime. Then they just got ran off the floor in the second half, and like they've just looked old and slow. Basically, is my rudimentary analysis.
Yeah, and I mean they put a lot of stock into Bradley Beal turning it back on after kind of walking through life in Phoenix for a bit, and like that's maybe we'll see it turn around, but that didn't look like it was paying off when I've been watching them. And you know, obviously Norm Powell was giving them buckets and playing his ass off on offense at least, and it's like they're missing that energy, and I don't know where they're going to find it. And obviously they have that cloud hanging over their head. They've got one of the best coaches in the league, and he tends to figure things out in the second half of the year. So we'll see how it plays out. But right now, they don't look anywhere near the path of being a playoff team right now.
So to recap, we have you have OKC, Golden State, Denver, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Timberwolves, the Clippers. I have the same order with Denver and Golden State swapped. So OKC, Denver, Golden State, Lakers, Rockets, Spurs, Timberwolves, Clippers. Let's just go through 9 to 15 quickly, and then we'll wrap here.
Yeah, Memphis, Cedric Howard might already be their best player. I could see them actually like kind of climbing up into the playoffs as the year goes on. Then Sacramento, Dallas.
We have our first disagreement.
Okay.
I have Dallas 10.
Okay.
I have Sacramento 14th.
Really?
I do not like Sacramento at all. I'm not quite Zach Lowe level of Hindenburg for Sacramento, but that is, I feel like, one of the worst defensive groups ever assembled for like a team with like actual aspirations, I would say.
Yeah.
Keyword aspiration.
Yeah. I just think they have enough ball handling that all these teams below them might fall behind, and they just have enough experience, but I don't see them as a playoff team. And I honestly, I mean, looking at like we have Dallas at 11 right now, I am hopeful that they'll figure it out over the course of the year and make the play in, because I think they have the talent to do it, and hopefully they can make the play in and Kyrie can come back and we actually have things interesting there. But you know, it's just Dallas just looks like ass every time I watch them right now, so I just had them lower.
Fair.
But and then like Portland, I was like, I liked Portland as a potential play-in team coming into the year, and I haven't had that much of a chance to watch them yet, but like they seem like they're doing okay. But then obviously they just lost a coach, so that's going to be a huge part of it. And then 13, Utah. I mean, Utah's playing like a playoff team right now. I just don't know how long it's going to last. 14, this is a tough one. I have New Orleans down at 14. And I don't know why I had them there, because I think they're a play-in team, I think. And they looked pretty good in the game that I went to when San Antonio was there. It was a great game. And I probably should correct, like, that was their close game when I talked about Wemby not getting tested. Like, they did have, that was a really good one. But like, I probably should have had them higher. Maybe I should have them all the way up towards like 10 or 11 there. They just, like, Zion looks good, but just like, do you trust Zion to be there the whole year? Healthy the whole year? Not really. But also, they're going to get Murray back at some point halfway through this year. So there's potential. And then Phoenix, because just like, what are they doing?
So that's how I feel about Sacramento. So 9 is Memphis, 10 is Dallas, 11 is Portland, 12 is Phoenix, 13 is New Orleans, 14 is Sacramento, 15 is Utah, because I think Utah is going to flip Laurie at some point and probably pivot more. Now, they might be like, they've looked pretty good to start the year. So maybe, I mean, it's really close for me. That New Orleans, Sacramento, Utah, you could talk me into Utah being number one out of those three. Phoenix, because of the pick situation, they're one that could go in either direction for me. Like, they have some talent. I actually really liked Lakers play them twice in the preseason, and I was really impressed with like how hard they played for a group that on paper isn't necessarily like, I think Jordan Ott's a good coach who's had them organized and, kind of maybe punching above their weight a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the bottom 4 to 5 are kind of rough in the West, but I do like Portland. Their defense, to me, their top 10 defense. Klingon is one of the best rim protectors in the league already. And they need to get Scoot back, and they've had some guys in and out, but but anything else Spurs related that we didn't touch on before we wrap here?
I mean, we've hit on pretty much everything. I'm really curious to see how they guard Luka if he comes back for that game. I really hope he does. There's not an obvious answer for who guards Luka on that team right now. I would assume Harrison Barnes, maybe, or Steph Castle makes a lot of sense there. And actually, now that I'm saying it, probably Steph Castle makes the most sense. And if that's the case, this is a huge test for Castle, because Castle has been like a really, really good defender this year. But a lot of his responsibility has been just like high pressure, pressing, getting aggressive in pick and roll coverage, all that kind of stuff. Luka's a totally different beast, and they haven't faced anybody remotely like him yet, besides obviously Cam Thomas, the great Cam Thomas. So I'm really curious to see how they guard him, just both in a combination of, do they put Wemby in drop coverage? Do they have him switch up? Are we going to see some Luka versus Wemby stuff? I would love to see that, because that might be the one player in NBA history that Luka can't take a step back over, and I would love to see a few of those possessions. So I'm really excited for that game, because these teams are like pretty different and they play different ways. And it's going to be really interesting to see whose strengths whose strengths really win out the battle of attrition.
Well, Jared, I appreciate the time. Thank you for being my second guest, and first time you were on here. It was long overdue, and I'm glad we made it happen.
Number 2, baby. I'm proud.
I will have to have you on later in the season as the Spurs are making their championship run.
I'll think about it.
Well, I appreciate you. And for those in the chat, stay tuned. We are going to actually be doing a final segment here to close out with Keoni. But Jared, I will link your X account below. Anything else you want me to plug?
Can you call it Twitter instead of X? That was weird hearing out loud.
I've been making the transition, but yeah, I'll plug your Twitter account.
It's still the Sears Tower. You can find me on X, I guess, Jared Weiss NBA, Instagram as well. I'm starting to do TikToks now, because honestly, it's because I watch you do all these videos. I'm like, I got to start doing this stuff, especially with Wemby. Like, the engagement on Wemby's insane. I posted a video of Zion dunking on him, and it has like 10 million views. It's ridiculous. So stick around for my socials on The Athletic. It's going to be lots of Wemby coverage. I actually have more like non-Wemby coverage coming as well on the Spurs.
Nice.
That I'm excited about. I've got a really interesting story on a player. That's a story that I haven't really seen much people written about. And it's really, I think, emotionally interesting. So got some cool stuff coming. So follow us over there and watch Buha's block every day. Wait, what's the name of this one?
Beyond the Block.
Beyond the Block. I like that. I feel like I'm backstage right now. This is cool.
Yes, sir. All right. We are going to swap you out and bring on Keoni. Appreciate you. All right.
Yo,
What
yo,
is up?
yo.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you? Great episode so far.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's get into it. So you had an idea for a way to close the national show episodes, and everyone's got their corners. So you came up with the idea of the corner three, which I think fits well with the block analogies that I've been using for the show's branding. So on the debut of the corner three, we're going to be touching on three things as per the name. We're going to be touching on one team that we each think could make a leap this season into contender status, or maybe just make some more noise in the playoffs than expected entering the season. Austin Reaves and his play and his contract situation. And then the final thing will be a rookie check-in on the rookie of the year race and just some of our initial impressions of some of these guys who debuted this week. So let's start with the team that we are picking or expecting to make a leap based on the first week or so of the season. What is your choice to start us off?
I think the obvious choice is San Antonio, right? They've looked really good so far. I like their guard play, but I also like Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia's doing some interesting things. I think they're changing the way they're playing. Both teams are going to have some transition when players come back. So we'll see how San Antonio can integrate Fox, like you guys were talking about previously. And then we'll have to see how Philadelphia can integrate Paul George, and if Embiid can continue to take kind of a backseat to their dynamic trio of guards that they have there.
I hate when we just agree. I'm with you. I guess if I'm picking one for each conference, it's San Antonio in the West and Philadelphia. Like, something's going on in Philadelphia, and like Embiid's still on this minutes restriction, which we don't know how long. Like, is this the full season? Is it going to be able to ramp up a little bit? And what can they reasonably expect with him? Paul George obviously is a wild card. Jared McCain, but just looking at what Tyrese Maxey is doing and the leap that he has taken into, it's early, but like he's knocking on that door of the top 20, I think, right now, and is in at least like that conversation. VJ Edgecombe is probably the favorite for rookie of the year right now. Kelly Oubre has been playing well. Quentin Grimes off of the bench, which Dallas fans got to be kicking themselves about that one. And then
there's a lot of things for Dallas fans to be kicking themselves about.
But like Bona and his rim protection and shot blocking has been incredible. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. There's something going on with Philly, and I feel like they haven't even scratched the surface of their potential yet. But just with the chemistry and continuity with the perimeter group, but also in theory, two of their better players, Joel Embiid and Paul George, not yet also kind of hitting the potential that they could hit maybe later in the season. Like they're just a really interesting team. I guess the other one I would nominate is Miami, where they've done a lot of interesting things offensively. They're 3-1 right now. I believe they're running not only the fewest pick and rolls in the league, but one of the lowest marks of all time up to this point. So they've really changed their offense in a dramatic way. They are averaging 132 points per game, which is small sample size, 4 games, but just like it's different, right? It's different than the grinded out kind of gritty style of play we're used to with the Heat. So they've been up tempo and playing a little bit differently. So maybe they're like, we have the question of who is the team in the East that's going to, okay, it's New York and Cleveland in some order. I'd probably put Cleveland first, but then like that 3 spot, Orlando's been a bit underwhelming. Atlanta's been injured and underwhelming. There's an opening there. So I think it's probably Philly for right now. Like Milwaukee's going to be in the mix, obviously, with Giannis, but I think Miami and Philly are the 2 teams I'm looking at in the East right now.
Yeah, and Miami's doing it without Tyler Hero. So they still have Tyler Hero coming back. And
although I guess, big boost, but also like changes the style of play, right? I think, but I think overall is a net positive. I want to be clear on that. I just think like he is more of a pick and roll type player.
Absolutely. And then the Bulls, we'll see what happens. They have a brutal stretch.
I don't trust the Bulls.
I don't trust the Bulls either. But if you would have told me they were going to go 3-0 against Detroit, Orlando, and Atlanta to start the season, I would have told you were crazy, especially without Kobe White. But we'll see, because they have 2 against New York, Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland, San Antonio, then Detroit again. So we'll see if they're for real.
Well, let's move to topic number 2, which is Austin Reaves and his play. And I don't want to out some of our private conversations here, but I feel like I brought it up on the show, I believe, maybe once or twice before, but I feel like it's safe to say you were a bit skeptical last season of the Austin Luka fit longer term. Has the start to the season changed your opinion of that at all? Or are you still want to see a larger sample size with those two and how everything works together?
Well, I think you got to wait until the playoffs and see, because it's really 2 seasons, right? You have the regular season, and then you have the playoffs where teams can better game plan for you. And we see what Minnesota was able to do to Austin. Now, is that a fluke, or can he bounce back? We'll have to see. He's been tremendous so far this season. He's absolutely capturing the bag. And this week is going to be a huge week for him and his representation. I assume he'll continue to put up the numbers he's been putting up, and they're going to point to that. They're not going to point to whatever his numbers are once LeBron and Luka are back. They're going to be like, no, he's this guy. This is who you have to pay for. And if they don't, I don't think they're going to get the same luck they got last time, where people were kind of scared to make an offer for him. People are going to come make an offer for him. So we'll see what happens.
I'm looking up the teams with cap space in 2026 right now. But yeah, I spoke about this at length yesterday with Daman for a little over an hour. No real new thoughts for me. I think, to your point, like, there is a difference between the regular season and the playoffs. And I do contend that, I've already defended Austin's Minnesota series in the sense of like, I don't think it was as disastrous. Like people were acting like it was D'Lo against Denver. I don't think it was anywhere close to that. And even like his bad games were like bad, but like he still was contributing, I think, in other ways. But even just in raw, like, people always focus on production. I think even the raw production was there in like the bad games. Obviously, he was targeted defensively, did not shoot the ball well, and those are the 2 areas that I think he has to shore up longer term. And we just won't know that until we see him in a playoff context. But he's earning a lot of money to start this season, and he's not going to average 35 a game for the foreseeable future. But if he can settle somewhere in the mid-20s and be a 7 to 8 assist guy and like 5 to 6 rebounds on around 50-ish, maybe low 50s% field goal percentage, high 30s 3-point percentage, mid to high 80s free throw percentage, with likely attempting something like 5 to 7 attempt, that might even be low. I don't know, 6 to 8, 7 to 9, somewhere in there. Like, that is a player that is going to get paid handsomely next offseason. And again, it will ultimately come down to how he fares in the playoffs and how he complements Luka, because that's the most important thing of all, right? It's who fits with Luka, who doesn't. And this season is a giant audition for basically everybody, in my opinion.
And then we'll have to see, can he continue this production once LeBron comes back? Because there's going to be touches. Contrary to what Damon was saying yesterday, I don't see LeBron being Draymond Green. I don't see that that's happening. So we'll have to see, can he get to the line? His free throws have jumped the 2 games without Luka. So I don't think he's going to get to the line as much as he's been getting by himself, where he's the main focus of the offense. But we'll see.
Looking at some of the teams that could have some cap space, Washington, Chicago, Utah, Lakers, of course, Brooklyn, Detroit, Charlotte, San Antonio, Phoenix. Any of those teams stand out as a potential fit for Austin?
If I were San Antonio, I'd go after him. I'd try to move Fox and use some of my picks to upgrade on the wing and combine. Can you imagine Austin with Harper and Vassell and the kid from Connecticut, whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Carter Bryant?
Yeah, no. The kid from Connecticut last year, rookie of the year.
Oh, Stephon Castle.
Yeah, Stephon Castle. So like
I'm not great with where people went to school.
they are perfect for what Austin's weaknesses are, and I think he's perfect for what San Antonio could use as far as shooting.
That's an interesting one, and I've reported that they were. They were the team that almost offered him the restricted free agency sheet back in 2023, and then there was a little bit of a deadline there that the Spurs were undecided on, and then they ultimately didn't make an offer within the deadline. I think, that Detroit's kind of interesting. If there's a way to have a group of like him, Cade, and Asar Thompson as like your perimeter trio, because you have a certain amount of size and defense, and I think he's an upgrade over Jaden Ivey. Utah, those jerseys would fly off the rack over there, but they obviously have
now favorite.
They obviously have some guards and perimeter guys there. Chicago and Washington are interesting because I almost feel like they have, I guess Trey Johnson, but which actually leads us to our rookie report here, which we should transition to. But yeah, Chicago and Washington are, I guess, kind of interesting because I don't think they have like any guys set in stone per se, but maybe Trey Johnson is the one guy there in Washington. But what have been your impressions of the rookies to start? Like, this is a deep rookie class. I think there are already as few as 4, but as many as 6 or 7 guys in the mix for rookie of the year. Cooper Flag, I think, will continue to be the prohibitive favorite, and it's going to take a lot to knock him off that perch. But we've seen a lot so far in the first week, especially with VJ Edgecombe. So who stood out to you, and what have been your impressions of this class so far?
Well, obviously Edgecombe's the leader right now. Like, amazing performances. I did not have him transitioning his game so effortlessly to the NBA, but he's been fantastic, a valuable piece to that new look in Philly. And then the shooting from Coward, the shooting from Knuble, unbelievable. Obviously not sustainable. I think they're both shooting over 50% from the field and from 3 at this point. I think Coward's shooting like 60% or something.
He's crazy.
It's not sustainable, but I was super high on Coward and Knuble, just the fundamentals. So those are my three top rookies right now. Obviously it's only 4 games in. I don't know that the point guard experiment with Cooper Flag is going to work out this season. I'm not saying it won't work out in the future. I just don't know if it's going to happen this season. So I don't know how that will impact him. And then obviously you got to look at Harper. If they're going to win, like, that will help him and the rookie of the year balloting. But one disappointment, I think, has been Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey's talented. I just thought it was a bad idea for Utah to draft him. Like, if he doesn't want to be there, you're not going to get the best from him. Certainly draft him, maybe make a move, like you're saying, like you guys were talking about with Austin the other day. You got to sign him. Whatever you think, you have to sign him, and then use that as an asset. And I think probably the same thing with Bailey. But the idea that you're going to make him want to be in Utah, I think was a little, there were warning signs long before the draft that he didn't want to be there, and it's not going well right now.
Yeah, that one I'm still kind of TBD on, because I thought he looked pretty good in the preseason, and he is a bit raw. So I want to give it a little bit of time. And Utah's a weird team because they've looked pretty good so far, right? And I don't know how long that's going to last and what ends up happening with Laurie, and just, do they keep him? That they've sent out the signals that they want to keep him, but I also think that's a way to drive up the asking price for him. And he's an interesting player because the talent and skill is there, and I think he is an all-star level player. At the same time, I think like based on what they've wanted for a guy who's not yet played in the playoffs, which is not necessarily like a knock on him, but also maybe like a limitation to him being your best or second best player. Like, I don't know. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I'm like Edgecombe to me has been the guy, and I can't quite put my finger on like who he reminds me of. I know people have thrown out the Donovan Mitchell comparison, Dwayne Wade. I've seen some Russell Westbrook. I don't know. I feel like those guys had a little bit more power around the rim, where he's a little bit more like quickness and agility, but certainly like an elite top point, 1% athlete by NBA standards. But the jumpers look good. He's shooting 40% on threes. And he's got this like, I think he was kind of billed as a little bit of a raw prospect as a ball handler and a playmaker, but I think that has been ahead of the curve. And it's not just the 25 points per game, but it's been the 5-6 assists and the 5-6 rebounds, and like he's looking like a future 5-6 time All-Star already a few games into the season. And in that context, he does remind me of Donovan Mitchell, because I remember the Lakers played the Jazz during the preseason of Donovan Mitchell's rookie year, and you could just tell from the jump, like, oh, this guy's different. Like, this guy is ready for this. And he's going, and obviously he had the rookie of the year campaign with against Ben Simmons, but like that guy, you could just tell was like, oh, this guy's like ready for the moment. He's polished. He's headed the curve for a rookie. That's exactly what we're seeing with VJ Edgecombe. Then I've been really impressed with Dylan Harper, especially like it's tough to be a number 2 pick and come into a situation where like there are expectations. I think San Antonio expects to be a playoff team, and he's coming off the bench, and then his role is probably going to change again once De'Aaron Fox is back. So he's averaging 15, 5 and 5. The jumper has been a little hit or miss, and that's like an area of improvement for him. But I think like the defense has been really solid for a rookie point guard / shooting guard, but whatever you want to call him. Like, that's been solid. And then I think like the footwork, he's got a little, I don't like making the lefty to lefty comparison, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's got a little Jalen Brunson to him, and also a little like late prime Chris Paul. Cause early Chris Paul was a water bug. He was so quick, but kind of that like latter half of the Clippers tenure into like the Houston Phoenix Chris Paul of like just a master with his footwork and his ability to decel and get a defender on his hip. And like you've seen that with Harper. Flag, I just think they're playing him out of position. And I do think there's something to like developing him as a lead ball handler. But I think like the peak version of Cooper Flag is not a primary ball handler probably, or at least has someone on like a similar level of ball handling, which isn't the way that, like, I guess a little bit when he's with D'Lo. But like in a serious sense, like I think he needs his Dylan Harper or Stephon Castle or De'Aaron Fox to complement him offensively. So that one's more like growing pains, but Dallas has also just looked like a mess, and I don't know what exactly they're doing. And this was my fear going to the season, was that they didn't have someone to run the offense, and it's looked that way. But anyone else you want to touch on before we move on to the couple super chats?
I think the center in Charlotte has been really good so far. He's not
Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, he's not going to be rookie of the year, but I think he's giving them something. That's a team too. You can kind of watch, but we'll see. But those are the Harper, Coward, Knupel, and Edgecombe, and obviously Flag. Those are the standout. And then in Washington, also the kid from Texas,
Trey Johnson.
He has not been efficient from field goal range, but he's shooting the three really well. Sort of a little bit of a Jamal Crawford type, I think. So he's someone to watch, and he's going to get touches. That's a big thing, I think, differentiating Flag and Edgecombe is that they're going to get a lot of opportunities more than Harper and right now Coward's coming off the bench. Knoople's starting, but he's not really like the lead on that team. You have Melo and Miller when he comes back. So those two are going to have the opportunities, but we'll see what happens.
All right, let's get into the super chats here. First one from Bob the Builder. Thank you for the super chat. Hypothetically, how would AD and Luka look like?
Do you want to start?
It's an interesting what if. I mean, it depends which AD you're getting, right? Because he's obviously gotten off to a rough start in Dallas and has not looked like he's in the best physical shape. And the defense has not been where it's been at in previous seasons. So, I mean, I think it would look pretty good. Again, it depends on like which version of AD. If we're getting last year's AD pre-injury with Luka, yeah, I think that player is a better finisher than DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes. And he might not be like the lob threat that Jackson Hayes is, and he might not be the little floater, mid-range finisher that DeAndre Ayton is, but he's Anthony Davis. I don't want to overthink that. Like, I think it would look pretty good. And defensively, I think he's obviously at a different level than either one of those guys. So I think it would look pretty good. Now, it depends which AD we're getting, but yeah, I think it would work.
But then Luke is going to bring out the best in AD, right? Because it's kind of I think he's a perfect type of player for Luka to partner with on the pick and roll. So I think you would get the best version of AD. I think part of AD's problems right now is they don't have someone who can help facilitate his game. He's not really give him the ball, get out of the way kind of guy. So it's you need someone to help initiate his offense, get him some easy looks. He's not someone you can constantly expect to take people off the dribble or just go to the basket on his own without some help creating that offense. And I think Luka and him together would just be ridiculous.
And I think similar to Luka's chemistry with Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton, he could set up similar opportunities, both with like we've seen AD and Cooper Flagg start to have a little bit of lob chemistry. So I think like in AD's had lob chemistry with LeBron and Austin and Dennis Schroeder and different ball handlers for LA. So I think like that's established that he could do that. But then I also think with the way that Luka and Austin are now starting to feature DeAndre Ayton in the short roll and just his ability to hit floaters at 50% plus. I think he's better at that part of the game than AD, but we have seen AD excel in that area as well in previous seasons. So I also think there could be a wrinkle with that of unlocking that. And just to your point, like Luka's going to feed AD at a level that very few players can feed him. And it's probably going to look similar to the early days of LeBron and AD, but even a little bit different because I think Luka's much more of a pick and roll practitioner, right? And there's just some subtleties with like the LeBron, AD two-man game versus the Luka AD two-man game. And then last one here from, or unless you had anything else to say.
Yeah, I was going to say also Luka's load on offense will lessen AD's load and allow him to have more for the defensive end as too. So Luka also helps him on defense.
Yeah, no, it works on both sides. And it is an interesting what if of I don't like LeBron had a no trade clause that was never really on the table of LeBron being in it instead of AD. So we can't sit here and be like, what if they could have kept AD and sent out LeBron? Like we'll never know. So just an interesting what if. Honestly, more of a what if I think for Dallas than LA in a way. And then last super chat here from Kevin. Adam Silver needs to veto any trade that sends Giannis to the Spurs. Two unstoppable forces teaming up. One averaging 36 and 14 on 70% shooting, other averaging 31 and 14 on 60% shooting. Both are defensive player of the year level defenders, too unfair to the rest of the NBA. I agree. I think it would be incredible to watch. I don't know. I mean, who are you sending out if you're like, how do you rank Fox, Castle, and Harper as assets if you're the Spurs? I guess you have to try to keep Harper, and I mean you try to keep obviously as many of those guys as you can, but you're gonna have to give up at least one, if not a couple. And I think I draw the line at Harper, where I'm like, I'm not giving him up. But Castle's looked really good. Like the other thing is, like, Fox is already pretty established, and you could see a scenario in which Castle or Harper don't really get past De'Aaron Fox's current level. I think they do have the upside too, but like De'Aaron Fox is a pretty good player. He's an all-star level player. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Like, there was a period there of about like 12 to 18 months where I think a lot of people had him at least top 25, if not top 20. So there's no guarantee that Harper or Castle ever get to that level. But based on like the timeline, the ages with those guys, I would prioritize keeping both of them over Fox. But what do you think of a potential? Obviously, you throw in all the picks, but like what a potential Spurs trade package for Giannis and how that pairing would go?
If I'm Milwaukee, I want Castle, I want Harper, I want all the picks, I want it all, and it would be ridiculous. I think the defense alone would be insane. The ability to run up and down the court with Giannis and Fox, the speed there at their sizes, and then Wemby, his ability to stretch, right? I think they complement each other so well on offense, because Giannis is more of a driving around the basket kind of guy, but Wemby can stretch you, so they can play together. Would it be unfair? It would be unfair, but life is unfair. I mean, they certainly have the assets. Like, you can't say they would be one of the teams who could put the most assets on the table. You couldn't say it was an unfair trade. Like, they certainly have the assets to make a compelling offer. I don't want to see it as a Laker fan.
I'm trying to think of like what's the closest. Like, this is kind of going NBA history here. It's Hakeem and Ralph Sampson. I don't know. I can't say Samson. I added some like French to it. Hakeem and Ralph Sampson. Then it's like, David Robinson and Tim Duncan, but those are more traditional, like 7'1" guys. I'm trying to think of like big man pairings at like this level. Like, I don't think we've ever maybe seen a big man pairing at this level, in terms of you can make a case both guys are top 5 players. And it's very rare that 2 top 5 players play on the same team. It's like Kobe and Shaq and Steph and KD and LeBron and Wade. And there are very few exceptions here. Luka and LeBron, arguably, depending on where you put LeBron, but like, it's very rare to see 2 top 5 guys on the same team, and then to have 2 freaks, for lack of a better term, based on their physical abilities and body makeups and stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know if we've ever seen a pairing like that.
Yeah, unbelievable. I guess the real question would come down to, what can you put around them? Like, that's the big thing in today's game. It's not like it was a decade ago, where you can get your stars and still get people to put around them. It's a very delicate balance now with the current CBA and cap restrictions on can you get the pieces. It's one thing to have the talent, the top talent, but can you get the pieces to fill in around them?
I mean, the Spurs have a lot of pieces right now. I really like that group. And again, depending on what that potential trade, like if you could somehow keep 2 of those 3, I think that's a win. Where like 2 of those 3 plus Giannis and Wemby, you're cooking with something special there. But Keoni, thank you for hopping on for the debut of the Corner 3. We will be doing this moving forward. So going for about 15, 20 minutes after the first segment, with a guest breaking down either a team they're covering or just some sort of league-wide trend or topic, and then diving into some of the minutia with the Corner 3. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Just keep watching Buha's block, Beyond the Block. We're doing great things here at
Appreciate
Buha's
it.
Block, and the merch is coming, and
merch is coming. Appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. For those watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on channel notifications, and like and comment on this video on the road to 50K subscribers by the end of 2025. And for those listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice, please be sure to follow, download, and leave a 5-star review. I'll be back in about 8 or so hours, maybe a little bit less, 7 or so hours, going live right after Lakers Timberwolves. I am in LA. I'm not out in Minnesota. So I will talk to you all very shortly. Appreciate you. Appreciate the late night gang. Appreciate the chat. Talk to you all soon.